listen to the DeCesare Group Podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jim DeCesare, and I'm glad you're here. You're going to love this episode. My guest today is a walking encyclopedia of all things WKU and truly one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Alex Downing is president and CEO of Franklin Bank and Trust. He's also the youngest of 5 children born to Dero and Harriet Downing. Dero served as president of WKU from 1969 until 1979, so Alex was quite literally brought home from the hospital to the hill. Alex got his accounting degree from WKU in 1988 and worked as a CPA both in Nashville and Bowling Green before heading up the College Heights Foundation for 17 years. Downing left the foundation at the end of 2012 to become the chief operating officer of Franklin Bank and Trust, and in 2013, Downing was named president of Franklin Bank and Trust. Here's my conversation with Alex Downing. Alex, welcome to the DeCesare Group Podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jim.
It's been a long time that we should have had you on sooner, but, you know, we got you now, so that's what matters most.
Well, you must be desperate for guests, but
No.
it's my honor.
I get that a lot, by the way. You're like, yeah, you must be scraping on the bottom. No, I'm not. It's just we have so many great people that live in our community, and you are part of that, and that's the reason we wanted to get you on. So we're going to talk about your current role at Franklin Bank and Trust. Tell us how you came to Franklin Bank and Trust.
Well, I was very fortunate. My background is in public accounting. I was an accounting major at WKU in the late 80s and came out of school and went right into public accounting at Deloitte in Nashville. It goes back so long. I was at the old Deloitte Haskins and Sells, but worked there for about 4 years, had an opportunity to come back to Bowling Green. And so my wife and I moved back in 92, and I went to work for BKD at the time, which is now Forvis. Mm-hmm. And then at that time had an opportunity to work for my alma mater and College Heights Foundation and spent several years there and really had no intention of ever leaving. I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. But in 2011, I joined the Franklin Bank and Trust board and got a great opportunity to learn about community banking, to work with some really great people, and to really be mentored by Gary Brody. And it was approached in 2012 about potentially coming on board. Being a part of that management team and ultimately, hopefully, being a succession plan for Gary. So at the very end of 2012, I left my position at College Heights Foundation. I was 47 years old at the time. I told my wife people were going to think it's a midlife crisis, and she said, "Oh, you're way past midlife, so that's not going to be a problem." But I had the great opportunity to work alongside Gary, still work alongside him in his role as chairman of the board, but learned so much from our great team and really have enjoyed my now 13 and a half years in community banking.
And when you first came on at Franklin Bank, you were Chief Operation Officer?
I was. I came on as Chief Operation Officer at, like I said, the very end of 2012, became president in April of 2014, and then Gary retired as CEO in 2020 and took on that title as well. But really just spent so much time learning from a lot of great bankers, both at Franklin Bank and other partner banks as well, and was given by our board and by Gary, was given a lot of opportunity to fail in a lot of instances, but also to have a lot of responsibility.
Sure. And so since you've been there, Franklin Bank has they've grown. You've got branches both in Bowling Green and Simpson County. Anywhere else outside of those locations?
No, we have
not yet.
We've been Franklin, not yet, but we've been Franklin Bank and Trust since 1958. So Franklin and Simpson County obviously is our operations home and our headquarters. But our board and Gary in particular had the foresight in 2000 to come into the Warren County market. They started with just a loan processing office, and it grew into the building of the Dishman branch. Mm-hmm. In 2006, we built the branch at Gary Farms, and then in 2019, we built the Lovers Lane branch. So Warren County is a very important part of our market, and as you could see, the growth in Bowling Green and Warren County, we're honored to be a part of that. So we have 3 branches in Bowling Green, 2 branches in Franklin, and we've grown to a little over $800 million in assets.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And of course, Franklin Bank and Trust is involved in both communities on so many different levels, and we appreciate that. All that you do to support different charities and organizations, because a lot of people don't realize this, but that's a requirement of banks, not only community banks, but the other banks as well, that they give back to their communities. Talk about that.
It is, with the Community Reinvestment Act, but also just how good our communities have been to us as an organization, and so good to our staff. So we want to pour in to those communities that we serve, and it's certainly our responsibility, our obligation, but it's also our honor, because those are the people that make us successful. Those are the people that have helped our bank grow, and we want to be a part of everything we can in the community.
Well, we appreciate all that Franklin Bank and Trust does. How many employees do you have at the bank?
We have 87 now, and part of our charge when I came on board was to create a full-service trust department. We have had trust power since 1958, but as our former board chair, John Bowen, said, it's time to dust off those trust powers, and so we were able to hire some great expertise in our senior trust officer and his team, and so that we've tried to build that and be South Central Kentucky's trust option, and so we've grown to 87 employees in total, and again the 5 branches.
Yeah, saying that it's in the name, Franklin Bank and Trust. So
that's right. That's right. Exactly.
John was had some insight there.
He did. That's right.
So moving on from banking, because we really wanted to talk about your relationship with Western Kentucky University, because I was telling Amy, I don't know, last week when we were talking about this podcast, getting things ready, we all, most everybody knew and loved Lee Robertson, Mr. Western. We think you might be Mr. Western too.
Well, I could never live up to that moniker. I had the great honor of not only knowing Lee for my entire life, also attending church with him for many years, but also working beside of him in his role at WKU for my 17 years. And his comment to me and to others as we left to go on visits or represent the university is, don't embarrass the institution. And so I've held that close to me and remembered that in any organization that I represent. But I could never fill those shoes in that role. But he loved this place. He loved WKU. And it was such a big part of his life, and it's been a big part of mine and my family's life as well.
Yeah, well, obviously, and in my open, I said you basically went from the hospital to the hill. Talk about some of your earliest memories of WKU. Well, obviously, your father was president.
Right. My father, other than his service to his country, I think the greatest honor he had in his both personal and professional life was to get to serve his alma mater. He came to WKU in 1939, followed his brother, who is my namesake, who I was named for, as a player for Mr. Diddle. My dad liked to say that the only reason he got to come and play for Mr. Diddle is because his brother, my uncle, was so good. But he Mr. Diddle was like a second father figure to him. So after his service in World War II, he came back. He got to serve from that point in time, 1946 until 1960, in various roles at what was called College High, which was a K through 12 institution that was owned by the university, and then moved on to administration in 1960. So really, including his service to the College Heights Foundation, really served Western for 65 years. Yeah. So it's been a big part of my family history.
And I remember your mom telling a story about his basketball game at the NIT tournament. Something about not shooting the ball, and he shot the ball, and his shoot the ball.
I think Mr. Diddle's comment was, "Don't shoot, that's my boy," when it went in. So.
Yeah, so he shot and it went in, and
that's right.
That's a great story. Of course, there's lots of great WKU stories that you could probably share with us, but talk about some of your fondest memories of WKU, some of the things that just stand out to you.
Well, our family dynamic is a little bit different. There are 5 of us. I'm the youngest of 5, but there's 21 years difference between the oldest and the youngest. So when my dad moved on the hill to what was then the president's home, my oldest sister had been married for a few years and was already teaching, and she was 25 years old, and I was 3.
Yeah.
So the university was my backyard. The campus was, and so I have such great memories of just being alongside both my mom and my dad. It's because my dad was quick to point out that they served together. My mother was very active in what was called the Faculty Wives at the time, and was very supported, hosted a lot of events. So growing up, I just felt like I was a part of that.
Yeah.
I can remember picking up trash on Western's campus on a daily basis with my dad, and getting to walk with him to the office some, and attending every athletic event. So it was very, very special to me.
And you still attend every athletic event.
I do. I in 1999, I bought a house on Chestnut Street.
I was going to say, you live, a block from campus.
And I'm a block from where I grew up, from the home I grew up in. And my children were 4, 1, and 2 weeks old when we moved on Chestnut Street. And as we they were where they could go to the games with me. It'd be 10 degrees, and they'd say, "Dad, we've got a parking pass. Why are we walking?" I said, "It's tradition." So.
Yeah. It's not, and I appreciate you letting me park there when I teach at business college, because I just walk over and I don't have to worry about getting a ticket.
Anytime.
Realistically, you live right across the street from campus, because I believe WKU owns some of the property on Chestnut now.
They do. That's right.
And so you haven't gone far.
I haven't. It's come full circle. Again, very fortunate when I made the move to Franklin Bank and Trust that they allowed me to continue to live in the house that we lived in at that time, and even though I'm in Franklin quite a bit, continue to live in Bowling Green, and also have been allowed to continue to be involved in some things. College Heights Foundation will always be very near and dear to my heart, and continue to serve on that board and serve some roles with the College of Business, and very, very fortunate to continue to be involved in the university, because it's a deep partnership that goes way back, not only with Franklin Bank, but with all the corporate partners in the university.
Yeah, and of course they're a huge economic driver for our community, and we're so fortunate to have WKU here. One of the questions I wanted to ask you about is, since your time living in the president's house when you were 3 years old to now, you've seen all the changes that have taken place. Talk about, things that have changed and evolved over time. Diddle Arena's still there,
right?
But a lot of other stuff has changed since then and or been replaced.
It has, and I walked to work every day from 1999 until I left in 2012, and to see the physical transformation of the campus, I think it has always been held in high regard aesthetically, as far as being a beautiful campus. Obviously, we're called the Hilltoppers for a reason, being one of, if not the highest point in Warren County. But a lot of the physical buildings had, some deferred maintenance issues, and really during that time between, say, 1997 and 2015 or so, it really transformed physically, but is continuing to do so, certainly under Dr. Caboni's leadership, with the building of Amy and Dave Chandler Hall, and some of the renovations of the building, and the new Tim and Sarah Ford indoor facility. We're continuing to transform physically, and also developing a lot of great academic programs as well.
Yeah, and one of the great things about the academic programs are the doctorate programs that have come on in the last 15, 20 years, that once upon a time they weren't allowed to have those. And, so that's a big change. A College of Engineering, which was a huge win for WKU. So much has happened. The doctor of physical therapy, the doctor of nurse practitioners, and then now there's some research stuff that's coming online too. So it's really just taken off over the last 20, 30 years.
It really has, and it's been great to live on campus and to see that transformation and to be a part of it. And I abide by Mr. Diddle's motto: attend the church of your choice and send all your children to WKU. So we did as well. And all three of my children majored in different areas and had great experiences on the Hill. So to see them go through that and to see that as a parent was very rewarding.
Yeah. So all of our kids and their spouses are all WKU grads. So we are proud Hilltoppers here. And of course, I know you and I sometimes when we're together, we and if Gary's around, we're all wearing WKU apparel.
Right.
And not that we don't like the other universities in the state, but we feel there's really only one.
That's right. Absolutely.
So one of the things that I've learned about you over the years is you have quite a WKU collection of memorabilia.
I do. I call them treasures. My wife sometimes calls them junk as they pile up in our basement and storage areas. But I've been very fortunate over the years. And to me, again, when you talk about memories of WKU to me, or the foundation of the university to me, are people like Lee Robertson, Dee Gibson, Kelly Thompson. What a role model he was, not only to my father, but certainly to me as well. John Oldham, Jimmy Fikes, goes on and on. So I've collected some things that they've shared with me personally, that their families have shared with me, that have great meaning to me. And then also was very fortunate as my father, and you knew my parents, so my mother and father didn't throw anything away. So I've got some things that are very special to me during his time there as well.
So what's one of the coolest items that you have that you probably have several, but
well, I think the story behind an oil painting that I collected just a couple of years ago. It was a large oil painting of my father, and it had been tucked away in the Kentucky Museum. And someone called me and said that they had been, when they found that it had been given to them, and asked if I wanted it, and I said, of course, and learned the history behind that. It was painted in 1979 in his office as president by Andy Stahl. And I knew of Andy's acting prowess, but I didn't know he was also a visual artist. And so I was able to connect with Andy, and he told me the story of the painting. He had not seen the painting in 47 years. So that has been very special to me to learn the journey of that painting. And I'm now building a space that can be displayed in.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. And speaking of Andy, he went to College High.
He did.
And I know this because the old Skip Bond and the Fugitives band had two members that went to College High, I think, and we played a reunion. And of course, Andy was there, and Andy plays bass guitar as well, and he's left-handed, so he has to flip it around. But for those of you that don't know, Andy now lives in Butler County, I believe, and he was in a couple of movies, The Blind Side. He played the principal, and then he was in The Patriot with Mel Gibson, and he's done a lot of commercials and a lot of different acting roles throughout his career. And he's really is an interesting fella and a really good guy.
He's a tremendous guy, and was so kind to share the story behind the painting with me, and so pleased that I now had that. But I will share a quick story. He told me a lot of great stories about my dad. He connected with my dad because of his College High connection, was just a year behind one of my older sisters, and also because of his interest in the visual arts. because my dad had a brother, Joe Downing, who spent 57 years in France. And so he connected because Andy thought he might go into the visual arts before he got into acting. But he shared a story. He loved basketball. He was a senior on the basketball team with John Oldham Jr.
Okay.
And he said that as seniors in high school, they played pickup ball anywhere they could. They were always playing basketball. And one morning at the Oldham's house on Sycamore, they were playing one-on-one and horse out in the driveway. And my dad and John Oldham came out of the Oldham's home and played them in 2-on-2. And Andy said that they held their trunks, that they held them down, they fouled them. My dad and Coach Oldham were not going to lose to those two guys.
And so they won?
So, my dad and Coach Oldham did. But I wanted to tell Andy.
Streetball rules.
I wanted to tell Andy that even at that age and being the head coach at WKU, Coach Oldham was an All-American, so he had some talent.
Yeah, and he was part of the game, right? The legendary game was at 1971, somewhere around
1971, that's correct.
And, of course, I a few years ago, well, it's more than a few years ago, almost 30 years ago, I was working at a radio station in Tennessee, and I found 3 of the albums that from the game.
Right.
And I got to keep those. I gave one to Wes Strader. I kept one. I think I gave the other to the Kentucky Museum.
Well, I've got a few copies of that as well. And even though I was 5 at the time I was at the game in Athens, Georgia, Western has played the University of Kentucky 8 times in basketball, and I've been fortunate to be at all 8 games. And I told my wife, I said, I bet there's not a handful of people that have been at all 8 games. And she said, I'm certain there's not a handful that really care. She said, it's just that you're old. But anyway, that's very special. And Wes Strader's on the call of that, which makes it special to me as well.
Yeah. Wes was a great guy, and I had the great opportunity to work with him some as well. Talking about Diddle Arena and they renovated it, I think in 2003, and you have a table made out of the old floor.
I do. I have a 66-inch round table made out of the original Diddle floor, which was built in 1963-64, and so that is a treasured possession for me. And a good friend shared with me some of the floor that he had stored and was kind enough to let me have enough to build that table.
That's awesome. So that leads to the garage. You have had a building project at your house going on for about a year now, I think.
That's right.
And it's a garage with a room on top. I'll let you explain it, but you're not going to park any vehicles in there?
Not planning on it. That will be. They can call it a garage after I'm gone from this earth. I call it the Hall of History. It's been teased by several of my friends. They call it the Garage Mahal, or they call it the Beach House, because I probably could have bought a beach house for what I've put in it. But my home was built in 1936 and was made of Warren County limestone. So when we looked at building this, and
just like the governor's mansion.
Well, not even close to that, but it was. We wanted to build a stone structure that matched the home, and have been very pleased that that's gotten done. But as I've heard, or as people have driven by, seen that, and realized that I'm going to use that as a home for all of my WKU memorabilia, I've been fortunate to collect some more. Now, my gentleman who is building a lot of the custom furniture for me says that I've got 5,000 square feet of stuff to put in 1,900 square feet, so I'm going to have to pare that down some. But I'm hoping that that we'll be able to christen that here in the next few weeks.
All right, and then when does it open to the public?
Well, I may have to charge admission to that to recoup some of that.
Some of the cost.
That's right, exactly. But hoping that we can get everything hung here in the next month or so. But certainly want to roll that out for the first home football game and some tailgating.
That'd be awesome. And of course, that table you mentioned will be going into that Garage Mahal.
It will. It'll be put in next Wednesday, actually, April 1st. And another special piece of me. I spend a lot of time, as you can imagine, growing up in the University Center, and I've got
the Downing University Center, or Downing Student Union now.
I've got.
Do you still call it Duck?
I do. I catch myself doing that quite a bit, but there was a bowling alley that I spent a lot of my youth at up on the top floor, and I've got an island bar top that's being made out of that original bowling alley.
So if Nate Bergazzi's listening, that's the bowling alley you never got to use when you attended Western Kentucky University and took bowling classes.
You told me that story, and I treasure that because that's a great story.
It's pretty good. Most people don't realize he went to Western, and there's been a lot of interesting people that have come through WKU that people don't even realize have spent time on the Hill. Any of those come to mind?
Well, Don Kendall, who was the president of PepsiCo for many years, only spent a couple semesters here, but he and my mom were in school together, and they were a part of the drama team and did a couple of plays together. So that stands out. Of course, the great golfer Kenny Perry. Yep. So many folks, a lot of folks that had so much military success as well. Our own General Steve Basham is a Bowling Green native and a WKU graduate. So very, very fortunate to have a lot of folks who've been very successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I believe maybe the head of IBM or someone in leadership at IBM went to Western, and just so many phenomenal people that have come through Western Kentucky University, which is really cool. Right. I want to talk about your mom for a second because she was just such a wonderful lady. And I know I've shared this story with you before, but I want to share it again. I may have shared it with you. When Justin, our youngest, was his freshman year at WKU, Amy went over and was visiting with Miss Harriet. And she goes, well, where's Justin going to live? And she goes, well, he's going to be in Keene Hall. And she said, that Doug Keene was such a fine man. And she came home and told me that story because we just giggled about it because all those buildings on campus, she knew all those people. And we just thought that was so awesome that, we still had that connection to the early history of WKU that, Miss Harriet knew most everybody that a building was named after at WKU.
Well, I appreciate you saying that and sharing that, Jim. And she loved you and Amy and your family so much, and so blessed for how good you all were to her. And she lived a wonderful life. Passed away in 2023 at the age of 100, and she and Lee Robertson used to tease each other because she was from October to June older than Lee. So I'm sorry. I guess maybe it was might have been the other way around. Lee was maybe from June to October old, just a few months older, and she called him an old man for the few 3 months that she was older. He was older than she was, but that was her great blessing until she passed, is to have that connectivity to WKU, to have come here, the story and just talk about, being divine intervention. She worked for, when she was in high school in Searcy, Arkansas, had never heard of WKU. She worked in an office after school, and that gentleman had attended Western and said this is where she needed to go. So she took a train from Searcy, Arkansas to Bowling Green, started classes on Thursday, met my dad on Friday, had their first date on Sunday, and they married in 1943 and spent the next 67 years together.
That's awesome. That is awesome, and hopefully we can be around long enough to have marriages that long. We're getting close. And your grandfather now, I think you and I both had grandbabies around the same time. How's that been?
It's been fantastic.
It's great.
You had told me that there's nothing like it, and that is definitely the truth, and been very, very fortunate, and love sharing the WKU traditions with those two little grandsons as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they have lots of topper gear.
Absolutely.
And then finally, of course, you are one of many of the book club members that have been on the podcast, and we're actually reading a book that you picked out right now, which is a really interesting book. It's Mammoth March. Talk about that. Give a shout out about that book.
Well, Mammoth Miracle was written.
Mammoth Miracle. I'm sorry.
Was written recently to honor the 50-year anniversary of the 1976 Edmonson County State Basketball champion, and it turned out that someone shared a copy with me, and it was written by a friend that I hadn't seen in 35 years. I played Little League Baseball with him and played a little tennis with him in high school. He was a few years ahead of me. He went to Center College and then to law school at UVA, is a retired attorney. And when he was 12 years old, his dad, who was an employee at WKU at the time, took him to his first state basketball tournament. He's been to 45 since.
Wow.
And that was Edmonson County State Championship. And it's a Hoosiers type story that's got a lot of great backstories and a lot of names that people around here recognize. Those 6 players that were the biggest part of that team are still living in this area and still around, and I know several of them, and so it brings back a lot of childhood memories.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, it's been great having the book club that we formed during COVID.
That's right.
We had our first couple meetings via Zoom. And it's been great. Obviously, we've gotten to know each other better through the book club and getting to spend time. But I've heard you've been cheating on us. You're part of another book club, too.
well, I was in that first.
Okay, so you're cheating on them.
No, yeah, right, exactly. But it's a little different setup and with kind of presenting. Each member presents a program.
It's a literary club.
That's right. But I really have enjoyed this book club. I don't know how I made the list. I bring the average IQ way down.
Well, you and me both did.
But it's been so fascinating. First of all, to develop these great lifelong friendships. Several of you I knew. I've gotten to know everybody so much better, but just to be challenged with so many books that I don't think I would pick up and read on my own.
Yeah.
And I just have really, really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, we're looking forward to our next book club meeting at the Garage Mahal.
That's right.
Or the WKU Historic Museum version 2. But it should be a lot of fun. Anything else you want to mention before we let you go?
Well, I don't think so. Again, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for what you do in your role as the executive director of the BCBA to promote community banks. You've done a great job in that role, working with them before you became the director, and now as the executive director. It's so important that we advocate for community banks and for what they do within our communities. So thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. And for those that don't know, BCBA is the Bluegrass Community Bankers Association, and we represent the community banks of Kentucky and only community banks. And they're such an integral part of our communities. And one of the things that Gary and I talked about on this podcast is because it's more relationship than your national banks where you have to go through some corporate office in another state to get things done. You can just call Alex. And that's the difference.
I don't think there's any question. It's a people business, and that there's still a place in our economy and our society for that. So thank you for your work in that regard.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all you do for our community, for WKU, for Franklin Bank and Trust. We're so happy to have you on the podcast, and maybe we'll have you on again sometime. Maybe we'll do a show from the new garage.
That'll be great. I'll definitely give you a code to that building.
Yeah, I need that code. Alex, thanks for being on the DeCesare Group Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again to Alex Downing, President and CEO of Franklin Bank and Trust, for joining us this week on the DeCesare Group Podcast, and thank you for checking us out as well. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a review, and share your feedback with us. You can also follow the DeCesare Group across all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. You can even subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Soki Economic Development and Business News, by going to our website, thedecesaregroup.com. The DeCesare Group Podcast is produced by the DeCesare Group, a public relations and consulting firm based in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Our engineer and WKU alum is Justin DeCesare, with content contributions from Brooke Mattingly. The DeCesare Group Podcast is researched by Amy DeCesare. I'm Jim DeCesare, inviting you to join us again next time for the DeCesare Group Podcast.